Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk 509, October. We're getting close to the end of October 2024. Tracy, this week we're going to talk about Albuquerque home values. We're going to talk about home inspection and what is a full home inspection. I know you've got some stories you want to share about the Albuquerque housing market. It's Tego and Tracy Venturi, Venturi Group, real broker here in Albuquerque.
You
Uh,
said episode 509?
Episode show, recording, weekly,
509.
509 times we've done this. Over 10 years.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good.
been a great run.
It keeps
We
us on our toes about what's going on in real estate for sure.
and we love to talk real estate, so we're happy to do it. You were about to say the best way to reach us is our phone number, 505-448-8888. Obviously, you can find us online everywhere, but welcomehomeabq.com is our website, and you'll find Tigo all over YouTube with all sorts of great advice and videos and stats there, right?
YouTube, Facebook. I put everything on my personal Facebook, all the different stories and videos and stuff that I do or different real estate stats for national and local. I do a little bit of both because they both matter. So you can find me there, Tego Venturi, Teo. You can find me there. Let's start off every month. Zillow does their home value index, and I really like this tracker to keep track of what's going on with home prices and home values in Albuquerque.
So let's talk about what that is, what it's really tracking. Right? It's not really tracking what houses sold for this month.
Yeah, what they
This
do.
is like every house, not just houses that are selling.
Correct. So what they do is they put a value on every single home in the country with their Zestimate. A lot of people are familiar with that, and it's an algorithm based, and it's actually relatively accurate. It gives you a basic idea of what the home values are for every single home. The challenge that comes with it, and we know this over the years, is this is just math. People haven't been inside the home. They don't know what kind of upgrades there are, and if it haven't sold in a while, you really don't know. But they do a pretty darn good job of getting pretty close. And what they do is they take that Zestimate and they average it over the entire market then. And it gives us an idea of what is the typical, I'm going to say air quote, typical. I know you love it when I say air quote, the typical Albuquerque home. What's the value of the typical Albuquerque home? And so that was a long way to get to. In August, it was 336,001 in August. No, I'm sorry, September. Sorry, I'm a month behind. In September, it was that 336,194. That is an increase of 3.5% from a year ago. So extrapolate that out to basically home prices are appreciating about 3.5% year over year. And that matches other stuff that I look at. So I look at closed sales, I look at price per square foot, I look at median price. That's right in line. We are somewhere in that 3 to 4% price appreciation year over year for Albuquerque. The other thing that's pointed out though, and it's not unusual, is that it's actually pulled back slightly from August to September, right? Not unusual this time of year. And we'll see how October shakes out, but it's looking like October, we're going to have some year over year price appreciation for sure. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. But early indication is that October, we're going to see year over year price appreciation. And October may even actually come in a little bit higher than September based on some of the data I'm looking at. And there was that big drop in mortgage rates there for a couple weeks. Didn't last very long. We had a half a point swing in mortgage rates there, Tracy, from before the Fed reduced till after. It went way down, and then it kind of went back up a little bit. So mortgage rates are still definitely lower than they were 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yep. Sounds good. Let's talk about the new project that's going on for affordable housing, the complex that broke ground this week in Southwest Albuquerque. I think it's near what, Central and Unser?
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
saw. Yeah.
Central and Unser. So they had a groundbreaking ceremony. 47 one-bedroom units. They're apartments called Route 66 Flats, Central Unser. And they're going to be for people with disabilities, mental and behavioral needs, and who earn less than 18,150 a year. That we're hoping, the residents are hoping, the people that are doing this are hoping it will help exit homelessness in our area. So it's a place though, Tego, that's going to also have other services a part of it, right? It's a community where they're saying community where residents can thrive and receive the support they need to live stable, fulfilling lives. Partnering with Albuquerque's Healthcare for the Homeless, the City of Albuquerque, Housing New Mexico, and other stakeholders to bring this to fruition. Sounds interesting. They're all one-bedroom apartments with access to community space, shared laundry, which is great, right? Seating areas for gatherings, meeting rooms for supportive services, and an enclosed outdoor space that offers a patio, a pet area, and outdoor seating. So to me, that means they're gonna allow a pet, which we know a lot of people need that pet and want that pet. So that's great that that'll be a part of it. Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless is going to be providing on-site services to help residents have successful, stable lives. So that's just great. It's a step. 47 single.
Well, it's tackling two of the biggest problem, two problems in really every city in the country, which is homelessness and housing affordability. So we'll see how
But
it plays out, you know?
in addition to people with needs, right? We know that a lot of the homeless people have behavior, mental disability type issues that need support, right? So having that integrated into the living area where they don't have to necessarily go somewhere else to get somebody to help them maybe sign up for food stamps or somebody to help them with their medical care and making sure it's accessible. So it sounds like it's a great thing. It's expected to be open by summer of 2025. So
That's pretty quick.
yeah,
That's unusually
it's an
quick. So,
apartment.
yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see. And speaking of building, I'm going to segue to a different topic, which is building of single family homes. Two different things here. So, first, let's talk about single family homes. And so, we just got the read on the number of permits, or they call it housing starts in the Albuquerque area, and that's the number of permits that have been pulled in the entire metro area. And in 2023 or going into this year, excuse me, let me back this off here. Let me give the full data. So on average in 2023, we were seeing about 170 housing permits per month. After the housing crisis, we were down to like 100 per month. There was very few homes being built. So there's that whole period there where really very few homes being built. But if you go back to the 90s, it was more like three to 400 homes per month being built in the Albuquerque area. We had that huge run up before from 2004 to 2005 is really when it turned, where we had a lot of building, almost 600 homes per month. But ever since then, it's been this 100 to 150. And then even right now, the current read, or I got to pull up a different chart and the monthly. So right now in there is the most recent read was 170 permits pulled per month. So that was a really, really long way to say the home builders are building, but they're being conservative. They're not overbuilding. They're building what they know they can sell. We know there's more projects in the pipeline, Tracy, but there's nothing huge. There's no big, massive master plan communities that I'm aware of in the area.
I would love for our listeners to tell us differently because there probably is. We just don't know about it yet. I would hope there's something going on. The Near Haven, the Del Webbs, the Loma Colorados, those master plan communities have been just home runs, right?
You said Del Webb, and it seems like I recall that there is a Del Webb type project in the pipeline. Sorry,
I
I'm
would
just
hope that there is because they're really great communities. So
yeah,
I'd love to see another one.
that's an active adult 55 plus community generally is what those are.
Right, with really beautiful homes, beautiful amenities and things, so hopefully there is one in the works, so tell us if you know, call me, call
Yeah, so
Tico.
so so the takeaway is there's new homes being built, but there's not this glut. There are some homes that are available to purchase. In fact, Tracy, we have some of them that are listed that are finished, ready to move in for
New
new
construction,
construction. Yeah.
right, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that if you're interested in new construction, still reach out to us because there's the builders. Well, let's give the little secret about builders and the end of year, right? You want to talk
Well, they
about that?
don't all have their end of years are not always December 31st.
True.
Some
The
of them
fiscal,
have their
yeah,
fiscal years at different times, but they need to move inventory before the end of their fiscal year. So they do put out some great promos. There's some builders out there right now with 1.99% interest rate on new construction, 3.99, 4.99.
that's
So
graduated, right? So like the first year, it's 2%, and then it goes up, right?
some of them are graduated and some of them are fixed for the life of the loan. So it's great if you're thinking you might want new construction, give us a call because we have the ability to show you all of them and make sure that you know about all the options that might be out there for you.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna move on, but I thought maybe you hadn't finished.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. We've talked to a lot of people lately that are sort of torn going, should I be waiting? Should I not be waiting to buy or sell a home? And one of the things we hear a lot is I'm waiting after the election, which is fine. That's only a couple weeks away right now. And I'm not sure what's going to be different after the election, but that's fine. We don't need anybody to move until they're comfortable, right? But what we know is a lot of times people aren't thinking about the growth of the value of the home they purchase. They're thinking about, wow, I don't want to pay 6% interest rate. Well, they're not going back to two, I can tell you.
Yeah, they're
I
not
don't
going back.
think in
I don't
my
think they're going
lifetime.
back to 4. I don't think.
No.
And if they do go back to 4, we've
You
got big economy problems.
well, and you can refinance if they go down, right?
Well, of course. So,
So you can lock in something. But I think one of the things there was a story this week that was talking about price appreciation of homes, which you had just talked about, right? Saying how much homes have appreciated year over year. And one of the things is that a study came out about what the equity you could gain over time buying now versus waiting,
right.
right? And it's like over 5 years, they estimate the average gain of equity for people will be $90,000. And it's kinda like over 5 years, how many people are actually gonna save $90,000 if they, just regularly, right? But 90,000 value in your home, that's pretty substantial over 5 years.
Yeah, and that's based on a $450,000 home, and that's based on there's a group of economists that are all housing experts. They all get together and they mash up the numbers and they take what all of them say and they come up with these forecasts. And the forecasts are for 2025, 3.1%, 2026.
Appreciation.
Yes, price year over year price appreciation. So it's 3% in 25, 3.25% in 26, 3.75 in 27, 3.88 in 28. Now, forecasting, let me just say, trying to forecast what home prices are going to do even 2 years from now is kind of a fool's game, but they can see kind of big picture of where things are at. And so there's no indication of prices falling, at least for the most part, from most of the sane economists.
So what I hear when you say
I
that
don't know if you heard what I just said.
yeah, I did.
Okay.
What I hear when you say 3.1, 3.25, 3.75, and 3.88 each year
Yeah.
appreciating
Yeah.
is those are very modest numbers.
Very.
They're not saying we're gonna
No.
go up
No.
5%, 6%, 10%. We went up 17% one year a few years ago, right?
Right.
They're not saying huge numbers. It's very small increases, and it's very much over the last 50 to 75 years, very much in keeping with history.
Well, and, we think about Albuquerque, we had 50% price appreciation over the last 5 years, and that's a lot.
Well, we were talking with a colleague in Farmington
Yeah.
today,
Yep.
right? He was talking about how he bought his house in 2018 in Farmington for 450, which obviously was a luxury home in 2018 in Farmington, right? For 450, and it's now worth double. And he's sitting on a $900,000 house instead of a 450. And where else would he have put that money that he's borrowing probably from somebody to get that appreciation? I bet you're looking up Farmington, huh?
Yeah, I am. Sorry if
You're
you guys
like,
saw me on video and
strange.
I'm, like, looking at my, computer
You're
that's
looking at trying to hurt your back.
behind me.
Twist.
So let's take a look. Since we're talking about it. It's actually, I said 50%, I'm wrong.
It's what?
In 5 years, it was 60% home from August 2020, let's see, that would have been 2018 till August of 24. No, it would have been 2019, 5 years.
19.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2019, from August of 2019 till August of 24, home prices or home values have increased 60% in the Albuquerque area. And and it's interesting because just in the last year, like we talked about a moment ago, it's been much more moderate, more like 3.5%, 4%, somewhere in there. But there has been a big move up. But that's not in every market. Some markets have seen home prices go up substantially in a short period of time and then pull back a little bit. We're not one of those markets.
No, we're not, but there are markets like that around the state. Farmington used to be very much related to oil and gas, and they would see some big swings here and there. It's leveled out, right? Think about the Midland, Odessa, down in southeast New
So,
Mexico, JAL. Yeah, I mean, the oil and gas makes a big difference there,
oh, it
right?
does.
And it
Well,
could
that Permian
change.
Basin is huge. It's huge for the state. It's huge for, well, both states, Texas and New
Right,
Mexico,
right.
and it's a big deal for
But
our funding our state government for
the
sure.
the other things that can make shifts for our housing market is the, bases, right? So Cannon Air Force Base, Holloman Air Force Base, Cannon's in Clovis, and I know that having gone to college in Portales, we really watched the housing there, even though it wasn't my career field while I was in college. But we know that a lot of the people we met had problems finding housing then, and then they move different divisions and bring in divisions, and it changes quickly.
Yeah,
So,
no,
same
it
with
does. Well, and,
Albuquerque.
and New Mexico has traditionally been much more stable in housing because so much of our economy is based on large long-term government contracts
Right.
with the bases and the labs for sure. Tracy, okay, we're gonna totally change subject here. We're gonna talk about the home inspection. When you're buying a
The
home,
general home
the
inspection?
general or what is a full home inspection? When we talk about the home inspection process, so when you buy a home or when you put a home under contract, part of the process in your due diligence is doing inspections, right? You can do a lot of different types of inspections. Buyers have the right to do pretty much any inspections they want. At least that's the way our
As
group,
long as they don't harm the house or
as
the
long as they don't. Yeah,
property.
exactly, exactly. But there's actually a thing called a full home inspection, and there's actually a definition of what is a full home inspection. A few years ago, New Mexico launched licensings for home inspectors, and they defined what is included in a full home inspection. And we know it just from over the years what it is. It's basically giving the house an entire once over, right? So it's everything. It's site characteristics, which includes like drainage. It looks at the exterior of the house and everything. Looks at the structural components, but it's not a structural inspection, but it is kind of looking at stuff, right?
Mhm.
So if they see cracks in stucco, cracks in sheetrock,
Doors that don't open and close
right,
properly.
right, things that might be red flags for structural, they'll point it out, but they're not doing a quote structural inspection. You know, they look at roof, plumbing, electrical, heating, cooling, air conditioning. They look at all the interiors. They look at open and closed kitchen cabinets. They,
Open and close windows.
yeah, garage. They look at some appliances, not all appliances. Fireplaces, kind of just preliminary. But there's some things that they don't inspect, and that's important too. So if you're concerned about lead-based paint, or if you're concerned about radon, or maybe you want a full roof inspection by a licensed roofer, that's a different inspection.
They do look at the roof. They do make notes if they think that you should talk to a licensed roofer, of course. One of the things that doesn't often get inspected, I mean, it is not a part of it, a full home, is like your sprinkler system, the drip irrigation, things like that. They don't look at it.
Yeah, so in New Mexico, it's called the New Mexico Home Inspector Licensing Act Standards of Practice. So that is the guideline that the home inspector uses. And you can search for that. You just search for that on,
Your favorite
online.
search
It's
engine.
your favorite search engine, and it'll show you exactly again what's included, not included. And it also has a place where you can search for home inspectors to confirm who and who is not licensed as a home
Well,
inspector.
not who isn't, but who is.
Yeah. The
They're
oth
either on the list or they're not.
So when somebody purchases a home or puts a home under contract, a full home inspection is almost a given in most cases. Is that true?
It's true, I believe a lot of times we see homes being sold as is, no repairs. But that does not mean that the buyer can't do their own inspection to make sure they're comfortable with the condition they're agreeing to, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm saying 99% of buyers get a home inspection. Okay, maybe not that many, but it's pretty common that a general home inspection is common. What else is common very often is that termite inspection, which is called a pest inspection. So when they're doing a
Wood
pest
destroying insects, right? Isn't
wood
that what it is?
destroying
Yeah. Yeah. Wood
insects,
destroying insects. Yeah.
right, which is a termite inspection.
The pest inspection or the wood destroying insect inspection and the dry rot inspection generally are done by the same person, not necessarily always. If a
Pretty much in our market, they're the same
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
But, none of these inspections are required, but sometimes some lenders do require that termite inspection, and they want it turned into them to show that the house doesn't have termites. And I can go way off base and talk about termites because on our resale homes, the pest inspectors that I've talked to say probably 60% of them, 70% of them do have termites.
A
And
lot of homes have
a lot of
termites.
homes have them, but our termites are very lazy, right?
Well, it depends on the type of termite. I'm gonna caveat this because I want to be careful because there are there's different types of termite.
Right.
So Alan
Fearman.
Fear
Fear.
with preventive pest control, he does an excellent class that teaches about this and the different types. And I think the more important thing is that if a home is found to have termites, it's not a like, oh my gosh, run away from the house kind of thing, right? It's
Typically, no.
it's learn more, understand it, understand what the treatment options are, and have it treated if you're okay with that, and
Well,
still move forward.
if there's a loan and there's termites damage found or active termites, they're gonna require it to be treated
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
part of the condition for the loan. But a lot of sellers do not know that they have termites, right? They don't know that they have dry rot. It's always a surprise. It's not like, "Oh my gosh."
But something about inspections is okay. So we've gone deep on this whole full home inspection, right? Where you've got somebody that does a comprehensive look at the home and all the stuff. But you doesn't mean that you can't later, as long with your within the deadlines that are part of your purchase contract, you could do other inspections as well. You don't have to decide right up front exactly all the inspections you're going to be doing, correct? If you're a buyer.
Right. So a lot of people start with the 2 we've mentioned, the full home and a pest inspection. And then if the full home inspection says you should hire a licensed roofer to look at the roof, or you should hire a HVAC person or an electrician or a plumber, you can then move forward and through the appropriate channels, do more inspections. And if you're outside of the deadline to object to something as being a problem for you can ask for an extension because something was found that you need to have more time to look at. And then it's another negotiation between buyer and seller.
And then just a couple inspections that are conditional depending on if the property has it. So septic, that's one. A well, and with a well, it's not just the well equipment, it's not just the water. It could be a combination of all that stuff, and it could depend on, do you wanna check for just bacteria, or do you wanna check for other stuff in the water as well, right?
Right.
So that can get very deep. So that's, again, you
Oh,
can do
that's good.
do
You can get
oh,
very
well, no
deep.
pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one that a lot of people want is a radon
I wouldn't say a
inspection.
lot, but
I think it
do see
depends on the
some
part of town.
for a radon.
Yeah, they're definitely in the foothills of Albuquerque. It's more common than other parts of town, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that it's not everywhere. I just keep I just keep answering for you.
Yeah.
You keep trying
We
to talk, and I keep talking over you.
we had a radon inspection last week in the North Valley that came back with radon being higher than the guidelines, and it's a home with an actual basement, kind of like crawl space, but basement, and it's easily fixed with some ventilation as I understand it, but radon remediation can get very costly.
Yeah, and that's a larger conversation we
Uh,
don't have time for right now, but yeah, that's something to know about. A few other things that people might want to, test is air quality. I mean, it can just go on and on and on, right? It just And so if you've got questions about it, you can reach out to us and we've got a full list of all the different types of inspections you can do.
And it's probably not even complete, even
No,
though there's tons of different inspections on it. There's probably still more that we
of
don't
course.
even have on our list
Of
because,
course.
yeah,
I think the takeaway of this whole conversation is when you're buying a home, you have the right to inspect the property and make sure you are comfortable with the condition, correct?
totally. But to add on to that, you're buying, unless you're doing new construction, you're buying a resale home that's used, so to speak, and it should be in the condition you're seeing it when you view the home, not significantly different. So just because we have the ability to do an inspection does not mean the seller has to make changes, right?
Okay, I'm grinning because let's go down the as is rabbit hole. So there's a term out there and it's as is where is, which means the home as is, as you see it, that's what it is, right? And in honesty, that's every single resale home. It's as is. It's as you see it. Now, can you do inspections and check out the condition of the home? In most cases, can you ask for repairs of that property? Absolutely. But wait, let me make a point. The if somebody says the home is being sold as is, either if you're the buyer or the seller, make sure you're very clear on what you mean by that because a lot of different people will interpret as is as something different.
So I just want to say and add on to that that it could be new construction too, not just resale homes, not just someone else's home you're buying. New construction, you have the opportunity to do your own inspections and your due diligence and have the opportunity if things are uncovered to ask for things to be changed. But like I said, that's like a not a given that things will be fixed or changed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
It's
I caution people because a lot of times people will say, well, I'm selling my home as is. Well, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean you're not going to fix anything if somebody requests it? Or does it mean what does it mean? Yeah,
right,
yeah. So
right.
that's the only point I'm making there because that has created some controversy over the years we've seen in the real estate business. Just one of those things to
And
clarify.
I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but a lot of times we have an as is sale and the seller does take care of things, right? The buyer finds out that the roof is bad or the heater doesn't work or whatever. And the seller says, well, I'd have to fix that for anybody if I go back on market, if this buyer walks away. So very often when people think it's an as is and they're not going to make any repairs because that's what their mind thinks that means, a lot of times repairs are made.
Yeah, it's just one of those conversations you need to have with your realtor to make sure you're clear, either being a buyer or a seller. And realtors, make sure you're clear with what it means, because again, there can be different interpretations.
Okay, so we just have to switch gears real
Okay,
quick. So we had the most beautiful week during Balloon
we
Fiesta,
sure did.
and I happen to love hot weather, right?
Yeah.
So it was warm, it was sunny, it was calm. This weekend, windy. We finally got that fall, but excuse me, I know a few people are out looking at leaves, even though the weather is not nice. We're getting some much needed moisture around the state, but I kind of liked last week
Yeah,
better.
it was great. It was a successful Bloom Fiesta, and it seems like a lot of times we'll get that weather right when Balloon Fiesta kicks in this week. It waited that extra week, so we
Yep,
appreciate that.
sure do.
It was successful, and it was so much fun to have them as we every
Yeah.
year like we love to see them.
It
So
seems like every year during Balloon Fiesta, at least one day it rains and it makes the field a mess. We didn't have that this year. So, yep, it was a great year. Great place to live here in New Mexico.
Central New Mexico. We are the Venturi Realty Group of Real Broker here in Albuquerque. You can reach us at 505-448-8888. We have our website at welcomehomeabq.com as well. But we hope you have a great weekend and reach out to us if you need any help on real estate or got any questions. Take care.